Good evening, everyone. This is the Greenwood Mulliner Show Christmas special. And we are 2 minutes late, so I do apologise for people that are watching on YouTube, but a big welcome to all our listeners and our audio podcast as well, which is out every single Tuesday. I'm here with Sam Mulliner, who has recovered just like a normal athlete would if he was playing football. And Sam, how are you?
I'm better than what I was. Welcome to the most depressing Christmas special in the world. I was struck down with COVID, but I still am struck down with COVID. But I'm out of bed, which I have been for 2 days now, and I'm better than what I was. Unfortunately, me and my entire family have been struck down. Our entire household is positive, but we'll get there. I mean, thankfully the kids aren't that bad, and the wife's been pretty bad, but not as bad as I was. But I've soldiered on.
You definitely have soldiered on, and you might not do as much talking. Well, Mr. Mulliner, today.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's just like energy wise. I mean, some people say, I had a lot of negativity, some negativity after Leicester, saying how depressing I was after a 4-0 win. I don't know how you can be that happy after a 4-0 loss. Sorry.
I was going to say.
COVID brain, sorry. But yeah, there's going to be a bit of that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. But going back to the Greenwood Mulliner Show, though, Sam, 2021 has been absolutely incredible. It's been absolutely insane for the Greenwood Mulliner Show. And some of the guests that we've managed to speak to in 2021, we've actually I'll not tell you who we've actually just spoken to, but we've actually just pre-recorded one. That's why we are 2 minutes late.
Don't tell them that.
They don't know who it is, though. That's a wait and see. But it's been absolutely ridiculous, hasn't it? In a good way.
In the best way ever. It really has. I was just looking at the list because I keep a track of like when I'm planning the shows and whatnot. So since the last time we did the Christmas special last year was episode 23. This is now 73. Obviously, because we've had 2 weeks off and there's 52 weeks in the year. Good maths. So, like, since the last time we've done one of these, like Nolberto Solano, who's just the coolest dude ever, Ollie Bernard, and these are just Newcastle players. I've interviewed Alan Shearer twice. Like guys like Ed Chamberlain, Les Ferdinand, Henry Winter. We've sat in Sir John Hall's house for an afternoon. It's been like this. This shouldn't happen to folks like me and thee, should it? Really?
No, it probably shouldn't. But over the last 12 months in particular, a lot more people have become a lot more available, and that has helped. That has helped in a lot of ways. But I think for me, Sam, in 2021, the amount of former players we've spoken to, the amount of Northeast people who love this area in terms of the football club as well, it just shows that if there's something positive to talk about, or there's something back in the day which they enjoyed talking about, they are very much willing to do that with us.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And a couple of times people have approached us, which is just silly. When it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, it's lovely, and long may it continue, because it would kind of alleviate some of the stress in trying to book people. But it's been a fantastic 12 months. Obviously, through various lockdowns, it's what's kept us going, and then that horrible phrase, new normal. Getting people on and then kind of mixing bits where we can actually go and interview people in person, and then to obviously interview people from around the world as well, whether you're Nolberto Solano in Peru, or Stephen Taylor, who's living in Dubai now, and so many others that we've gone from all around the world to right in your home, the Northeast.
Yeah, and we've got some clips which we'll put on this Christmas special.
Intersperse.
There you go.
Lovely turn of phrase.
What a phrase that is. And there's been some really, really fantastic stories about so many different players, managers that we've all looked up to and loved over the last 12 months in particular. And I think one person or one legend, I'm going to call him a legend because what he did at the football club for so many years in different eras of the football club, pre and in the Ashley era, was Stephen Taylor, Sam. And there was one particular moment very early on in his Newcastle career, which was very, very memorable. And it's actually, which he mentions, is one of the two biggest talking points in his Newcastle United career. And if for people that have maybe forgotten one of these two big moments, let's just listen about one of these moments.
I thought the referee was further down the pitch, so that's why I did what I did, because I did think the referee was further down the pitch. I don't know why. I think he's only 20 yards away. So when I seen that, I thought, oh no, he's killed me here. I don't know, like 52,000. I'm thinking that's my career finished here. So I just tried to do my best to somebody goal.
I mean, fortunately, well, maybe, because were you able to sort of like hide in the dressing room after that game? Because obviously it wasn't even the most, high profile red card of the game. Obviously Dyer and Bowyer had their fight, so I'm guessing the attention was more sort of drawn on them. Were you kind of secretly chuffed and thought you've got away with it?
No, what happened was I got in the change room by myself, got my shower, got my suit back on, and I remember just sitting there. And I just hear this roar and arguments come with this, what you call the tunnel. And it was Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer with two of the masseurs. And they came in the change room, got separated. And I'm thinking, Boyer's top was ripped. So I'm thinking they had an argument with one of their players. Dyer's obviously helped them out. Until I heard, I think Kieran Dyer was saying, yeah, you punched like a girl, which I say. It was a different word, but I've got to be careful what I say. So when I heard that, I went into the players' lounge, seen the TV, and when I seen what happened, I tell you what, I thought there's a god. So I'm walking back in the change room like Conor McGregor, by the way. So I'm sitting down on that seat, waiting for the team to come back in. Bear in mind, we just got beat, so obviously it's a nightmare anyway. But I apologised to Shearer straight away and the lads. I said, I apologise. And he was great. He said, no, don't worry about it. And he went in on Kieran Dyer, went in on Lee Bowyer. And I remember that night everyone was just talking about their situation. And I thought, I've got away with one there. I've got away with one there until the next morning having breakfast with the boys, and everyone looked at me, what the hell were you doing, by the way? You absolute tit. So for me at the time, I was like, I'm just trying to make a career of myself, and that doesn't happen. So I thought that could definitely ruin your career. But it's, it went viral then. And everywhere I played in Australia, every single fan, I played all my career. That's the only two things they mention. The bloody handball, the Stoke goalkeeper. Do you not remember the night at Annecy? 1-0, we won. No? So 3-2? No? All right.
What a night against Annecy.
Yeah, I know, but what a handball. And I love Stephen Taylor. I was so chuffed we were able to get him on because he was on the list for since we started. But like we say in the proper full interview, like he was there from Sir Bobby till Rafa Benitez and everything in between, wasn't he? So there's no one better to tell you just how Newcastle United's evolved through like the good times and the bad and the really bad than Stevie Taylor, and looking incredibly trim.
Yeah. I think he mentioned actually in another interview with somebody else that he wanted to, when he went to Australia, they told him to lose like a bit of weight, and he could keep the muscle but lose the weight around him because it'd actually benefit him as a footballer. And he'd done very well in Australia. He had a couple of stints at lower league clubs, in particular Peterborough United. But again, a man who made hundreds of appearances for Newcastle United. Yeah, very much a legend in my eyes, and I hope in a lot of other Newcastle fans' eyes, because he gave his all for the football club. I always remember when he came out, especially at home, geeing up the crowd in particular. It's something that you actually kind of almost look forward to before the game, if you like. So it was brilliant. Mickey has a question. Wasn't he at the awards? He wasn't at the Newcastle Fans TV Be a Game Changer Awards.
No, he was at the big ones, wasn't he? That Josh won his award at. Yeah, but he lives in Dubai now, so he's got his his own business over there that he was running.
I think he's helping another business. I could be completely wrong. I thought it was him and somebody else. But again, loving life, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, and then Lee's in the comments making the point that you've essentially had a shave, which is why you're looking so youthful.
Well, that is true. But can't be perfect all the time. Right?
Now you had a shave, it really highlights your eyebrows.
Bloody hell, I thought I was on a podcast with Sam Mulliner, not Kel Mulliner.
I shouldn't give a shit about that. Although I should shout her out, actually. She's been absolutely fantastic when I was really struggling with COVID as well. So, yeah. Cheers, love. Sickness and in health.
Brilliant stuff. But, no, I honestly, it surprises me, some of the people that we have managed to spoke to in the last 12 months, in particular commentators and presenters at the industry that we all love, and the likes of Peter Drury, Ed Chamberlain. That's just two names straight away that come to mind.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned
fantastic stories.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned them, because I haven't got clips of them, so that's great. Yeah, but I think because we love that side of things as well, and interested in all aspects of not just football, but kind of most sports really, and the broadcast side of things. Guys like Ed Chamberlain, Pete Graves, Keith Downey, Peter Drury is just the best commentator out there. We love to know like the inner workings of things like that. And it's always nice to learn about their experiences in the broadcast side of things. And like these are guys that are at the top of their craft as well. I mean, the Premier League productions like around the world are so lucky to have Peter Drury as one of their main commentators, because what we'd give to have him commentating on like your Super Sundays and UK TV, like the Champions League nights.
Well, he does do Champions League nights with BT.
No, but I mean like when we were in it back in the day. I mean on ITV, when we used to get shunned on ITV2.
Yeah, there was another team that were called ended in United, but they seem to get a lot more. Let's just say they used to get a lot more of the ITV1 prime time. Yes, definitely. I'm sure there was probably fans of that club in Colchester as well. But in all seriousness, Ed Chamberlain as well, Sam, another man who he was probably the only person that would choose horse racing over football. Unless you're Ed Chamberlain or Sam Mulliner, I would have thought.
I was going to say, yeah. But it's a big step there. It just goes to show the power of terrestrial, because like Ed says, football's just this juggernaut, and you're getting less ratings. Like you're absolutely over the moon when ITV are getting 1 million viewers for something on a Saturday for a race, like whether it be the Derby or Cheltenham or this, that and the other. It's a completely different world, and it's a big gamble, because Ed Chamberlain had cemented himself through the two previous incumbents, who we don't really like to talk about because they're just old, haggard, and irrelevant by now, aren't they? But Ed Chamberlain's fantastic broadcaster, and what a thoroughly nice chap he was.
Oh, he was really, he's not dead. He was very, very kind and very good with his time as well. I know a man who does a lot of work, actually gets younger people involved in broadcasting and teaches them and trains them about the industry and how to improve in the industry as well. So
didn't offer that to us though, just in case you were wondering.
No, Some would probably say you probably could have done, but that might be for another day. We might get him back on in the future. Who knows? But I love those. I love those sort of interviews. They're my favourites, like the Gabriel Clarks and like we've done in 2020. They're kind of my thing. Bryn Law's another man that comes to mind. Again, a commentator, a reporter. That was a very poignant episode as well, Sam.
Yeah, remembering Gary Speed. That was a kind of Gary Speed special, wasn't it? Again, the most depressing Christmas special you'll ever see. I remember like watching Bryn talking about Gary Speed's death on Sky Sports News, and it was just utterly heartbreaking. But to remember the good times of Gary Speed and remembering the man and what a player he was, it was great speaking to Bryn, who just had all the time in the world for us. In fact, I think that's like by far our longest episode.
Oh, by a country mile. By a country mile. That was like an hour and 45. Something that's not going to be as long is Stephen Carr, because we've got a fantastic clip about the 2004-05 season in which Newcastle were very, very close from winning a trophy. This was that 4-3 win as well. You know, there was some moments where you go, actually, if Newcastle was a little bit fortunate, you never know, could have been an FA Cup final or your UEFA Cup final. You never know after that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is football. It's very, as you say, you don't think of that. You only think of the negatives. And like there was some positives. I think the quarter-final at Sporting Lisbon away, I think we gave away a bit from what I remember. I remember Kieran Dyer, who was a big threat for us with his pace. But I think he done his hamstring in it again. I think he got injured again. Yeah. And as you say, it's these moments. I think if Kieran had stayed fit and was in that game, we would have won it. And then you go to a semi-final where you had a bit depleted squad of injuries that we had to play on the Sunday. I think it was the Thursday, Sunday with the travel. So as you say, that week defines a lot. You get that little bit of look at times, and you're looking at a completely different thing and the outlook on ground, because at the end of the day, as you say, it's quarterfinals, semi-finals, but it means nothing in the end. At the end of the day, you don't win anything, you're not got to the final. So the most important thing is to win things. People don't look back at who lost, it's only who win.
That game in Lisbon, I remember it like it was yesterday, because we'd gone 1-0 up, hadn't we, in Lisbon, and then, as you say, Kieran Dyer went off injured.
He was causing all sorts of problems. I think that's what and then you see moments. I remember it, and if he hadn't have been injured, and I do believe we would have won the game, because the problems they couldn't cope with him. They just couldn't cope with his pace, and he had the freedom on the ground to just not a free roll, but because of his pace, he'd cause havoc, and the foreigners didn't like running after him. It's simple; they weren't used to it.
Oh no! Well, I mean, I think it was Shola that came on for him, and no disrespect to Shola, but he hasn't quite got the legs that Kieran Dyer had.
No, he's a completely different player. He's a figurehead up there, Shola. I mean, cause problems, you get a lot of bits off him, but he's not going to run them as much as once he gets going. That's not his strength. It's like Kieran's not a strength to hold the ball up, but Kieran's strength is running off the likes of Shola and Miyombi, them type players, and getting bits off them and slotting them in. But yeah, so we lost the momentum in the game with that, I think, and I think they got a bit of a lift from it, because I think they were quite relieved he had to go off.
Oh, yeah, they were. Oh, Shola Rami, obey, Shola.
Yeah. Such a shame he had to come on in that game. Now, I love Shola, don't get me wrong, but oh God, Dyer was absolutely terrorising him. I always remember at the end of that game as well, the camera was like fixed on Shearer walking off, and like you could tell the look in his face that he was just like that's the opportunity gone. That was the one where we really had a chance to win that UEFA Cup that season, because by the time we played Man United on the Sunday, the squad was knackered and there was so many injuries we had. So we were never going to beat Man United, but that Lisbon game was really one that was there for the taking. It was gutting.
I was how old would I have been? 9, maybe 10, something like that.
Make me sick.
And I remember Dyer scoring to make it 1-0. And I think Newcastle had just gone 2-1 down, or they just went 3-1 down, and I had to go to bed because I had school the next morning.
Oh, bless.
And I remember waking up and my mum coming in my room going, like Newcastle lost 4-1 yesterday, so they're out. I was like, oh no. And I didn't believe her because my mum doesn't support Newcastle. I just didn't believe it. And then I put Sky on and it said 4-1. I was like, oh, we did lose. But that was a big opportunity missed. That you've seen other teams in recent years, like so Fulham made what was the UEFA Cup of Europa League final 10 years ago, or just over 10 years ago.
Or before then as well, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like
Rangers do it as well.
Yeah, Rangers got beat in 2008. I think they brought 250,000 fans to Manchester. Like I know Glasgow to Manchester's not too far, but still that's some effort.
Yeah, wow. Just think what we'd do if ever we got to anything prestigious.
Well, the semi-final against Marseille comes to mind.
Yeah, that was another close one, but I always thought that
they were good, Marseille.
That was the thing. Like Lisbon were there for the taking. If we had a fully fit squad, we'd have won. I've no doubt in my mind about that. But Marseille, they were. I think they were just a bit better than us. I mean, they had that striker that he never amounted to anything. What was he called? Drogba. Yeah, whatever happened to him? But I just remembered him being pretty decent.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad. Liam says, "How young does Jonny look?" Well, way younger than Liam. He's way old, isn't he?
I don't know. I know, right? I'm going to sidetrack briefly, but I was so gutted when I got COVID when I did, because obviously you had the night at the awards last Wednesday, didn't you? And you all, got together, and I was very much part of them plans to come up, have a few beers and awards, and go out afterwards, and then 2 days before I got hit with COVID. I'm not complaining too much because I know there's people way worse outfit than me. Jesus, how many people have lost their lives and whatnot. But it was a bit gutting seeing you all out having a wonderful time, and then me sat at home, in bed, lying at home, kind of in pain, breathing. But yeah, I'm sure you had fun.
Oh, it did, and you like many others, Sam, can watch the vlog that Lee will be producing this week about our night at St. James's Park, where we did pick up an award, and there's obviously some stuff that we've captured throughout the evening. But for people that don't know, I actually FaceTimed Sam after the event. There was me, Liam, and Adam, and Josh from the channel. Went for a few drinks after, and we all said the same thing. By God, he looks awful. Your left eye was swollen. You just looked unwell. But
I was.
I know.
I was, and still am if I was to take a test. But yeah, I think I'm out of isolation just after Christmas, I think now, or is it just before? I don't know. I'll have to check with my significant other with that one, because I don't know how exactly it works with our government being so confusing about the rules, and we might all be in lockdown by then anyway. Be typical when my isolation ends, we all get placed under lockdown. But my daughter Tony tested positive the other day, so I don't know how that works with isolation rules. I don't know. So I might be free before Christmas, but I might not be.
I wonder if Santa's isolating, eh?
I wish he bloody was. Crippled me.
Moving on. Before we go back into football, I guess, I just want to mention a couple of guests that I think people wouldn't have really heard of, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed them. And I'm talking about your likes of your Lauren Pattersons and your Anthony Youngs. Oh. I really, really enjoyed the comedy side of things. And Anthony Young, that impression of the baby. Oh my God. How does he do that?
That's the kind of... Again, haven't got a clip of that, sorry. Would have been nice if you... Oh, you did actually... No, I've just remembered. I'm not going to kick the boot because I think you did actually tell me you wanted that clip. Sorry.
Yeah, some of us were at work.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to have been at work. And the big relief was I never passed on my COVID to anyone else, which I was greatly relieved about. But Amp Young, he's ace. I want him to be my mate. And I think if he's supporting Carl Hutchinson again, I think he's in Stafford next month. So I'm hoping it goes ahead because I'm going to message him. If not for free tickets, but just to say hello in the flesh, as it were. Sometimes these things work out, like when I tried to get a free hoodie off Stephen Carr, which didn't work. But I intimated I wanted one, but that didn't work. But hopefully Anth gets the message and gets the subtle hints, because he's awesome and he's very, very funny. And we got him on the post takeover show as well. When you were at Scouting for Girls, that's a band. That's not a hobby. You were there, and I did a live show after the takeover with Nolberto Solano and Anth and Andy Musgrove from the Chronicle as well. But that's fine. That's fine. I'm sure you watched it on catch up, because that's what YouTube is. I'm reliably informed.
Can't believe he went there. Can't believe he went there.
I can't believe you went there. I can't believe you went to Scouting for Girls.
Right, right, for people that are listening, this is what happened. The day after the takeover, after me being outside St. James's Park and speaking to Keith Downey and Adam Phillips. It is actually, that's one of my favorite videos of this year. Is actually that interview with me and Adam, because Adam's like a proper diehard Newcastle fan, and he just captured the moment really well. But going back,
made me cry.
Oh bloody hell, that's the day. But anyway, yeah. So the following evening, it had already been planned about 7 or 8 months ago that I was going to this gig, because there's a thing called a lockdown and people wanted to do stuff. I was like, you know what? For 20 quid, it'll do. It'll be a good night.
Scouting for Girls wasn't such a bad idea, and you wanted to relive the hits of 2008.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was mint.
Was it?
It was all right, actually.
Was it better than speaking to Nolberto Solano and Anth Young again?
No, because that wasn't the thing that I was thinking about. Believe it or not, there was a thing which you've probably mentioned a couple of times. Can you remember the same day, about half an hour before the gig started, you were talking to Alan Shearer, you and Lee?
Well, I didn't want to bring that up and kick the boot in too much, but yeah, me and Al, quick message. Super Al, yeah. He was like, "Oh, go on, Sam. I've got 15 minutes now. If we're quick, of course, Al." But that's 2-0 to Mulliner, very much so.
Yeah, very much so.
Follows me on Twitter. Does he follow you? No, he doesn't. It's always 2022, mate. 2022. That'll be the year. But yeah. There was John, who's been with us since show 1, I think. John Anderson in the comments there. Love the guests. Keep them coming. Well, we will keep them coming in 2022. Rest assured. We've got a few kind of people lined up that have kind of like soft yeses that we need to firm up dates for. So yeah, plenty to come up in the new year. Yeah, some fantastic guests potentially for January and maybe even the start of February as well. But it's there's 1 or 2 that I think me and Sam would like to get next year, and I think we'll do it. I think it'll just take a lot of persuading, but we'll do it, and we'll get there, and you get to watch it and hopefully enjoy it. Let's talk about Lamana Luwa, because I'm sure Alan Shearer loves calling this guy a magician.
Asking yourself question, can one day be like them? Can I, reach their level? And then suddenly, boom, I'm sitting down in the canteen, Shearer's there, Warren Barton's there, Rob Lee's there, and you're thinking, I remember one time I was sitting down and I couldn't eat. So we sit in the canteen, I couldn't eat. So I was like, I think I was in a dreamland. I was like, I would just keep staring at Al. I was staring at Big Al, and every time he looked my way, trying to get eye to go, I'll turn around pretending I was eating, So it took me a while. It took me a while to actually to believe that I'm actually sitting down with this legend. It's only until the day Alan actually called me a magician, in a training. Because don't forget, I grew up in the era that I just used to laugh because I knew Newcastle. That's what got me to Newcastle, is my skills and beating players. So in one time in training, Al called me a magician, and that took me from here to there.
Best name in football?
No.
What?
Best name?
Yeah, in football.
No.
Well, go on then. What's a better name than that?
Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink.
Give over.
I mean, you'd be fucked if you were paying by the letter for that, wouldn't you? My word.
Especially if you have 2 kids.
Yeah, Jesus. But yeah, no. Do you know what? The interview we did with Loa Loa was so pleasantly surprising because, like, you think back to that classic dressing room under Sir Bobby, and you had Shearer, Given, Speed, Harper on the one side, and then you'd have like Dyer, Bramble, Bellamy, and like Loa and a few others. I didn't realize just how lovely he is. What a lovely guy! That really surprised me. It was absolutely superb. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and he got really emotional talking about Sir Bobby as well. It was just a lovely 50 minutes with Lamana, and he's just an absolute diamond of a human being. And he was there out in the Congo, which has marginally better Wi-Fi than North Shields, working with his charity, his foundation as well. So he's just, what an awesome guy. Very much so. A real awesome guy. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him and talk about the good old days. We've actually been discussing a particular match in the latest episode, and he played a big part because it was his first goal for Newcastle United in the Premier League, Loa and against Derby, and that's all we're giving you in terms of that particular episode as well. But yeah, the best celebration of football, maybe. Oh, without doubt. Like I tell him in the episode, Obafemi Martins tried, but Loa was the one, wasn't he? It's just ridiculous, and he said he still does them now, which is crazy. I mean, you're in your 40s, man. It takes some doing. The next sort of guest I want to talk about is the Newcastle reporters, the press pack, the likes of your Keith Downeys, your Luke Edwards, Andrew Musgrove, those sort of characters, because they've got a very, very difficult job. They've got to report on Newcastle United. That's a difficult job. Good, bad, indifferent. And obviously we've spoken to all 3 in the last 12 months, Sam. And some are liked, some are disliked. Some are well received, some were controversial. If you listen to some of the comments, so all the negative connotations you're just attributing to Luke Edwards, aren't you? Not necessarily. I don't think the Chronicle have the best. The Chronicle in particular don't have the best relationship with Newcastle fans. I never really understand that. I always quite like the Chronicle. I still speak to Andrew Musgrove now. So yeah, good dude. But yeah, and others you mentioned, like the Athletic lads, Chris Waff, George Colkin, who's just what a guy. And even nationally as well, speaking to Henry Winter again is just an absolute honour and a privilege. Although I'm starting to think he's not quite a lucky charm for us anymore, because the last few Newcastle games he's been to have been thoroughly thrashed. But maybe that's just a sign of the times. But yeah, these guys have had 3-4 years of reporting on a potential takeover and getting shit off people because through no fault of their own or through no one's fault really, apart from the powers that be, they're just not reporting on what people wanted to hear up until very, very, very recently. So that can be tough, I imagine. But yeah, thoroughly good people. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to pick a favourite, but because we all have favourites. And yeah, great bunch of guys, and Pete Graves as well, who I still talk to now, who's an absolute ledge. Yeah, absolute dude is Pete Graves. What an awesome guy he is. Can't speak highly enough. I actually got a hug off him at the Spurs game. The first game back, obviously. First game under the new ownership. What a day that was. On that day, I know we lost, and I know there was a horrendous incident in the stands, but thankfully the guys made a full recovery. But the day and the atmosphere before the game and inside the ground before kickoff with war flags, and it was just like an absolute carnival round St James's that day. That'll stay with me forever and ever and ever. That was just an absolute pinch yourself moment to be there. That's going to be a day I tell my kids about in 20, 30 years' time. Great day.
To be fair, I actually heard in a recent interview Pete did. I don't know if you've actually seen this, Sam. He mentioned the fact that that game.
You got a hug off me.
Yeah, you got a hug off you at Spurs.
I invited him to the Strawberry, but he said he was busy working. So me and you went instead. We
did. It was actually a very surreal day. It was a very carnival-like atmosphere around the whole ground. Everyone was in such good spirits, and you could tell that you just had
to take it in, and there were so many people around, and everyone was chatting and getting on great. And then it was just, how many people did we see around there that day? And meeting people in person as opposed to like this on the internet. It was it's just the best day ever.
What a couple of weeks that was, actually, because the takeover did dominate a lot of a couple of shows, and I think the one we did with Chris Waugh was fascinating to know how quickly it happened. But I remember asking a question to Chris and George in previous episodes, in particular, have Newcastle United got a future to look forward to almost, and can we get back to where we are? And I always remember George saying, well, it's Mike Ashley's club at the minute, so where can the club go? But now it's under a new regime, and hopefully it can deliver positive stories in the future, because if it can, by God, Newcastle can be an unbelievable place to be in the next few years. And a man that kind of did get us to the dizzy heights of nearly winning a Premier League in terms of ownership was Sir John Hall. And before we get the clip about a particular time at Newcastle United, big credit to you, Sam, and to one of our former guests, Greg Whelan, in getting this interview sorted, because when you said this to Lee Lawler, he just laughed, didn't he?
Yeah, I mentioned this was way before. This was ages and ages ago. I said I'd quite like to get Sir John Hall on the show, and Lee sent me a voice note back, as he does, saying, "Hang on a minute, you think I'm not going to do an impression of him, because he does a fantastic one of me." No. Yeah, he says, "Hang on a minute, you think you can get Sir John Hall on the channel?" Yeah, right. So a few months went by, and then the next thing you know, all three of us are sitting in Sir John Hall's front room with a cup of tea and a Kit Kat. So it just goes to show the whole scenario from top to bottom was very bizarre, to the point where, like, when he rang me, he called me up to first arrange the interview. Very, 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 that's just not something you'd expect when you answer the phone. "Hello, John Hall here." "Oh, fuck." "Hello, Sir John, how are you?" Yeah, it's not something you ever expect, because I mean, he has his critics and his cynics out there, of course he does, but like every owner of a football club everywhere, mistakes are going to be made somewhere down the line. But I think me and a lot of others have just got the utmost respect for Sir John and what he did for the football club, and those were the real good old days, weren't they? And he was a big part of that. He was a massive character in the Newcastle United show in the mid-90s with him and Kevin Keegan, and it was just an honour to meet him in person. And Yeah, well, it just wasn't it? It was an honour. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I always remember you taking the mick. It was the best one ever. The best one ever. I said at the time.
No, you said no.
Yeah, me saying it, but you taking the mick out of us.
Yeah, because we'd not got off his driveway yet.
No, I thought we were in the pub. I thought we were in the pub at this point. But anyway,
he barely shut the door and said "ta-ra." Like, all right, Johnny, chill out. Let's try and play it cool. Or, leave.
The door was shut. But anyway, it was good. Here's a little snippet of that particular episode, and where he meets a few Newcastle fans.
The time when we had to get out of the second division and the first, and if we played Grimsby that night, and if we won, we got up. And I drove myself there, my wife, and then we had the Bentley. And I got the end of the M62, and that's a little chef. And I pulled in, my wife wanted a smoke, and I wanted a cup of coffee, and so we had that. We came out, and we're just getting into the Bentley, and there was a battered old transit van came and parked about 15 yards away on the other side. The back doors open, and 15 of them poured out, didn't see us, and went to the nearest hedge and started to have a run off. I'm standing there, and I shout, "Give me the number of your season tickets." And there was a silence. They all ran back into the van. Some of them hadn't finished. 2 minutes later, they came back and queued up, heads down, and apologised and said they travelled down crates of beer, Brown Ale. No service station would let them stop because they were trouble. So not the whole of fan, so they reached the point of where they couldn't go any longer. So I said, "I'll tell you now, and if it happened again, I'll remember the number of your season tickets." And basically, and my wife says, "And I won't forget you either, but it wouldn't be by your faces."
Oh. A great story by Sir John Hall, and very, very welcoming when we went to his house and had the interview with him, and told us some fantastic stories. And again, if you haven't watched it, please watch it, because it's something that means
it's only two-parter.
Yeah,
our only two-parter because the situation demanded it. And a big thanks to Lee for that day as well, because he was producing. He was the tech guy. So yeah, he was producer Lee for the day. So yeah, that was really good. It was just very surreal, and another day we won't ever forget. I mean, normally I'm driving like the 3.5 hours to come to Newcastle to more often than not see us get beat, and then drive 3.5 hours home again. But when you pop up to interview Sir John Hall and grab a bit of lunch around the quayside with your mates, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Yeah, very much so. And a big thanks to Lee as well. Without being sycophantic, Sam, without Lee in terms of the channel, we don't have this show.
No, you wouldn't book the guests if we can without Newcastle Fans TV, without under that banner, would it? Because when you're asking people, "Oh, do you want to come on the Greenwood and Mulliner Show?" It's like, well, what the fuck? No, obviously not. But then, obviously, Newcastle Fans TV gives it the name and what it's about. But kind of does hold us back in some aspects, because if we want a non-Newcastle guest on, then we might struggle. Because you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, because we often get asked about, who do you want on the show next? Who do you want on the show next? And who would your ideal guest be? I mean, the answers to that are very obvious, I think. And we don't even have to name them, because whoever you're thinking of now, that's probably the correct answer. But I always one away from the Newcastle side of things. There's loads I'd want on as well. I don't know about you, but there's a few non-Newcastle people I wouldn't mind getting their story and speaking to.
Yeah, I think there's a few, but I think try and getting that connection. We do seem to find a connection with a guest where it's not necessarily from the area or not necessarily massively involved in Newcastle, but we do find a connection of some sort, and it's a good icebreaker. Ed Chamberlain's not from Newcastle. Yes, he hosted Premier League football, but he's not necessarily got any association really with the area. But when you
good point.
Get a link, it does help. And we have
what I'd really like, actually. I'd really like, and it's in football, but nothing to do with. There is good luck finding any sort of connection. I really like Ellen White.
Maybe she's friends with Carly Telford. Who knows?
But no, just because I think like women's football's just women's sport in general is just coming on leaps and bounds, and it's ace. Whereas before it was pretty ropey. And she's just like, goal scorers and that. She's a fantastic goal scorer, and she's got the personality to boot and the celebration to boot. She's like the whole package, and like all-time record goal scorer for England now. And exactly. So yeah, no, I've been a big fan of hers from afar for a while. But what can you do? Man City, England, it's nothing to do with Newcastle.
I'm sure we interviewed Brooke this year, didn't we? I'm sure Becky was last year, but I think Brooke might have been this year. Yeah. We actually got to see Brooke last week at the awards ceremony. She was the guest of honor essentially with the Be a Game Changer Awards last week, and she was brilliant. She was sitting on our table. There was certain things I can't mention, but there was certain things I can mention, and that
that's the good stuff. Well. There's certain things you can't mention from I mean, oh God, if only we could mention some of the stuff that John Hall told us. Wowie,
yeah,
but we can't.
Yeah.
So not even a membership to NFTV will get you that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Maybe one day. Who knows? No. Actually, do you know what? To be on the safe side, no. Let's just say no. We've hit a couple of milestones along the way, Sam. Obviously, we've done up to 73, I think he said there. Number 50 was quite special. Sir Les Ferdinand, and a man who he's just Newcastle United, isn't he? At the minute, he's just. If you say Newcastle number 9, loves scoring goals, you obviously think of Shearer, but the next one of the next names is either Andy Cole, Les Ferdinand, or Sir Les Ferdinand. I'll give him his appropriate name.
So it's a crime. He only spent 2 seasons at Newcastle, and he's like how revered he is through such a short space of time because his goal scoring record is phenomenal, and he's and to boot, he's like the nicest bloke ever. He's the nicest guy. Just ace. Just awesome. Yeah, you gotta love Celeste, and it's just all encompassing from that time, that team, that era, the goals he scored, the stories he's had to tell, the things he had to work on with his game. And he's obviously still in football with QPR. I said on Sky Sports News, I said I wanted Celeste in as director of football, but doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately, yet. There's always time. Never say never. But, what a lovely, lovely guy. And would kind of guy that would do anything for you.
Yeah, very much so. A man who, actually, I think I've told the story before, but my boss lost his father, long illness, and sent me to send to him a lovely little 15-second message. Didn't have to do that, I did ask, but he didn't have to do that, but very
nice. I mean, he's good, but you wouldn't have known before that tragic event had happened. But,
Could you imagine that would have been very interesting, to say the least. Who wants to hear Mark Clattenburg talk about Timuri Kedspire and Jordan Henderson? I do.
That had played for Newcastle, and you see them abroad. I remember Timuri Kedspire. I was refereeing a match in Cyprus, and he was the coach. And he comes over and gives us a cuddly. He was a legend, and he knew I was a Newcastle fan. And you meet people who have played for Newcastle because you come from a city that they thought you were dead friendly, and you knew they. I remember Kevin Nolan telling us a story. He said, "Mark, when you live in Newcastle, you live in a goldfish bowl." He said, you can't go to the fuel station, you can't go to the shops without somebody talking about football. He says, you move to London, he says, you're lost in the Gulf. He says, you can go on the subway and nobody even recognises you. He said, it's so different, and players understood that. And, they knew that they had to engage with football fans because Newcastle and Sunderland fans were very, very passionate. Same with Liverpool and Everton. The players have to accept that. And, many of the players, what most of me banter used to be was with Sunderland players, because if they did something wrong, I would say, yeah, because he played for Sunderland, and they would laugh, So that was probably the more banter when players had played for Sunderland. And I remember, I remember even Jordan Henderson, the story with Jordan. Jordan left Liverpool, of course, and his family lived not far from me and see him. And he got sent off against Manchester City, quite rightly so. Bad tackle, sent him off. And a few weeks later, I bumped into him and he said to us, you know that red card? I said, yeah. Thinking he's going to criticise it. He said, no. He said, I watched it back. It was a really bad tackle. He said, but when I got back in the dressing room, he said, I looked at my mobile phone. He says, my mum was giving us dog's abuse. Saying, why did he get sent off? Why this? So he was telling us and I was laughing. So I was refereeing him playing. He was playing Bournemouth for Liverpool. And the following season, and he was getting frustrated and he started using bad language, dissent. And Jordan's not normally that type of person. He's quite balanced, and but he was losing his discipline, and he said some choice words to us over a decision. And I just turned around and I said, what did you say? And he said the foul language again. I said, I'm going to tell your mother what you've just said to me. And he just went white. He didn't know what to say.
It's always nice when you get one over a Mackham, isn't it, Sam?
Oh, isn't it just? Clattenburg was one of the ones I wanted on since the start when we did this. I always wanted to get a referee on, and obviously, who better than a Newcastle fan and a referee that was at the top of the game. And I actually tweeted out yesterday how like the PGMOL. Yeah.
You got that right, yes. You got it right.
All right. COVID brain. A bit foggy still. Could do with someone like Clattenburg. Now, he wouldn't do it because of that establishment, as you will hear from listening to the full interview and also reading his book as well. How they could do with someone like him at the minute to sort the shit out that's going on with. I mean, look at the last 3 Newcastle games, the decisions going on in them. Even with VAR, which was supposed to cut all this bullshit out, and then you just seeing the events that have transpired over the past few weeks are just absolutely ridiculous. John says, love the hair, Sam, which flattery will get you anywhere. But this was another thing of a bad thing of getting COVID and missing the awards do. I got a haircut especially for the awards last week, and I even bought hair gel. And you know, I don't do anything with my hair as Johnny's Wi-Fi goes. So this now becomes the Mulliner Show at last. And wasn't able to use it because of the wonderful coronavirus pandemic, which saw me fall ill with 48 hours to go as North Shields reconnects.
I was waiting for it. I'm not going to lie. I was waiting for it.
Didn't do it with Loire, did it?
No, did it every other fucking episode.
Thought you'd broke the camel's back with it, but no, there it is to rear its ugly head once again.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. Last couple of questions, Sam. We'll wrap things up. 2022. If it gets better than 2021, bloody hell, I don't know where we're going to be.
I don't know. Oh, we'll hopefully get to 100 shows in 2022. We're nearly 3/4 of the way there, so 100 shows would be nice. Obviously, there's a few. Fill for me, Johnny, for 10 seconds while I do a COVID cough.
Yeah. So 2022 is going to be fascinating as Sam decides to literally show you that you need to get a job.
Yeah.
If you want,
to be honest, this is the most I've spoken for about a week. So, yeah, we're starting to struggle now.
I think we'll do one more. We'll do one more question, Sam, and then I think we'll end
2022. Essentially, the goal is to become multi-billionaires.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please. That'd be brilliant. No, 2022 for me, I would love to get a few names on that we've wanted since the very beginning. And like for me, I would love us to get Shay Given on, and Deck in some capacity as well would be brilliant.
No, stop saying people's names. I hate it when you do this because then it just adds pressure.
No, it won't, man. It'll be fine. If we don't get them, we don't get them. We do brilliant. And then who's laughing now? But there's a couple of names that I would like. I know Sam was after a couple of names as well, but I'd like to do more stuff with the foundation, the women's team as well. Like, obviously, try and see if we can do something with them. get another player on in the future, or maybe get Becky on at the end of the season, like an end of season review. That would be brilliant.
I so hope that obviously we could be heading for another lockdown or restrictions or whatever, but I so hope their season don't get cancelled again, because they're on the cusp of doing something really cool.
They really are. So that would be fantastic as well. But the first team is obviously the main priority, because that's how me and Sam met, really, in terms of Newcastle United first team stuff. And obviously it was under Steve Bruce at the time. It's not anymore, and it's under Eddie Howe. So let's hopefully see Eddie Howe turn things around and Newcastle stay in the division, and we're still talking about Premier League football. That would be lovely as well.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Right, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Best Greenwood Mulliner Show in 2021. This is your last question before you can start coughing.
Yeah, and I knew it was coming as well. So I've been trying to think. It depends. Like, I mean, viewership wise, it would probably be Stephen Taylor, because that was really well received, and not he doesn't do many interviews. Sir John Hall's House, 2-parter, ridiculous. I love speaking to Mickey Quinn. I really enjoyed the April Hunter one, and she'll bounce back from a defeat, and she'll go on to win a world title. Keith Downey, total dude. Stephen Carr in Malaga, great crack. And there's other ones like Anth Young. I even like speaking to Thomas from War Flags.
Yeah, that was really, really good. I really enjoyed that.
War Flags are just unequivocally one of the best things about Newcastle United, and to get their inside story was really enjoyable. But Johnny, you probably know yours, so you can answer your own question before I give a definitive answer.
Yeah, a couple of honourable mentions. Nolberto Solano, very much an honourable mention. I think that was.
I got a voice note on WhatsApp from Nobby Solano, which just makes my day. So cool.
That was a big one, because I remember the following day I was at work and the Chronicle picked up on the fact that we'd interviewed Solano. And do you know the question? The question I asked him wasn't even my question. It was my dad's question. My dad said, he said, have you got any more of your shows? And I said, well, we might have Nobby on. We might, because there was a bit of like, we're not too sure. But we arranged the time, and we were still like a bit, well, it's the other side of the world. We're not too sure if this is the right contact, but fair play to Liam, it was. And it was his, well, if you do, ask him the question if he ever worked for the club. And that question was basically the Chronicle's article. And I just remember being at work and just my phone exploding with loads of people retweeting and liking, and it was just ridiculous to the channel. So Nobby was a big episode for us. But my favourite one is between Peter Drury and Sir John Hall. I'm finding it very, very difficult to separate between the pair of them. I'm going to go for Sir John, just
because we went in his house.
Do you know why, Sam? Because we spoke to a man who owned our football club and who knew what the football club was about, and he gave us honest answers for every single question, and some questions after the interview finished as well. So I would say Sir John nicks it for me. Peter Drury, Keith Downey, Luke Edwards, very, very close ones as well, and Nolberto Solano. So, but again, I can mention loads. We thoroughly enjoy doing these, and yeah, fantastic memories to say the least.
I'd say even like the kind of smaller ones, if you like, that's just equally as good. Look forward to them just as much, because they're they're interesting. I find it interesting what our guests have to say. I'm sure you do too, Johnny, and hopefully like some of you watching do as well, and make it, barely entertaining. So yeah, it's great fun. Hopefully we can carry on next year and beyond.
Yeah, definitely. But you haven't answered my question. What's your answer?
Oh, I agree with you, Sir John. I mean, how can you not? Yeah, you've been welcomed into his home, and yeah, lovely guy.
So there you have it. Sir John Hall, both parts, was the best show we've done in 2021. Get your comments in. Who do you think was the best show this year? What's your personal favourites? Who would you like us to try and get next year? And
email info at
yeah.
NewcastleFansTV.com, and I'll read them out on the next podcast intro.
Yeah, definitely.
For ones that subscribe to the audio, which you all should, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
In the description.
Exactly. Give us a rating. I think 5 stars would be lovely. But I think Sam's just about done for the night. I think he's lost for words, which we never thought he would be. So we'd just like to say a big thank you to all our listeners, in particular in terms of the audio podcast and the viewers watching on YouTube and on NFTV and NFTV Extra as well over the last 12 months as well, because we thoroughly enjoy it, and I hope we both hope that you all enjoy watching or listening, depending on how you get these interviews. But again, have a fantastic Christmas, a brilliant New Year.
We haven't. I mean, it's a Christmas special, and we barely mentioned Christmas.
Well, who cares? Who cares? Well, I've got a quick one. What are you doing for Christmas?
Isolating.
I'm going to my mum's, and I'm going to have Bucks fizz and a bacon sandwich in the morning. Maybe a couple of pints in the afternoon with a Christmas dinner. And Coronation Street's a bit of a favourite in terms of Christmas Day. I don't know why, but it always seems to be a bit jolly. Yeah. But, so maybe a bit of Coronation Street in the evening, and then Boxing Day, the football's on, and the 27th Newcastle play Man United.
My favourite horse race of the year is on Boxing Day, the King George at Kempton. I've had the winner 6 times in the past 7 years. So, no, more than that, actually. Might be 8 and 9. But, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, very much so. I'm sure Sam's looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the football anyway, so it should be good. And I've got 4 days off work, so even better. But this is where we'll end it. We'll be back next week with another episode, talking all things Newcastle United and players that used to play for the football club. That's maybe a little insight to what we're going to be talking about. But from myself and Sam Mulliner, have a wonderful Christmas, a great New Year, and we'll see you very, very soon.